Alright, let's see. The original Federalist papers. Okay, general introduction. After an unequivocal experience of... Oh boy, this is... Yeah. I have an idea. Let's see. Let's call him Brock. Do you have access to the Federalist papers? Okay. So what if... modernize them? Huh. That'd be a sick video idea.
Picture this. It's the 1780s. We've just kicked Britain to the curb, won our independence, and we're trying to figure out how to run this new nation. But our first attempt at a government, under the Articles of Confederation, was a total train wreck. Imagine a car with no engine, shiny on the outside, but it's not going anywhere. That was us. The national government couldn't tax, couldn't regulate trade, couldn't even pay our soldiers who fought for freedom. It was like trying to run a startup where every team ignores the boss and does whatever they want. Chaos, right? We were a loose collection of states, each doing its own thing, and it was tearing us apart. That's where the Constitution comes in. And the Federalist Papers, all 85 of them, are the playbook I wrote with James Madison and John Jay to explain why we needed it. We published them under the name Publius, dropping them in New York newspapers like a massive op-ed campaign. Think of it as the ultimate Twitter thread. Yes, even I am still calling it Twitter. But instead of 280 characters, we're laying out the future of a nation. Our mission? Convince everyone that a strong constitutional government wasn't just a nice idea, it was a matter of survival. So, why a strong union? Think of our country like a sports team. If every player runs their own play without talking to the coach or each other, you're not winning any championships. Under the Articles, we were scattered, vulnerable to foreign threats, economic collapse, and internal squabbles. The Constitution brought us together, giving us a game plan to protect our safety and prosperity. In today's world, imagine if every state tried to handle global trade or national defense on its own. We'd be a mess. Easy pickings for cyber attacks or economic rivals. A united front is our strength. But here's the catch. We didn't want this new government to turn into a monster. We just fought a war against a king who could do whatever he pleased, and we weren't about to trade one tyrant for another. So, we designed a system with separation of powers and checks and balances. Picture a band. You've got the lead singer. That's the president and their team steering the ship. The guitarist is Congress, cranking out the laws that keep us rocking. And the drummer? That's the courts, keeping the beat steady and making sure no one goes offbeat. Each has their own gig, but they've got to jam together. If the singer tries to hog the mic, the guitarist and drummer can turn down the volume. That's checks and balances in action. Madison nailed this in Federalist 51 when he said, "If men were angels, no government would be necessary." Spoiler alert, we're not angels. Power can corrupt, and we knew it. It's like cybersecurity for your phone. You've got passwords, encryption, and two-factor authentication to stop hackers. The Constitution's got vetoes, overrides, and judicial review to stop abuses of power. For example, the president can say nope to a law Congress passes, but Congress can override that veto with a 2/3 vote. The courts can strike down laws that break the Constitution, but Congress can amend it if they've got the support. It's a dance. No one gets to lead all the time. Now let's talk about factions, groups with shared interests that can get out of hand. Madison tackled this in Federalist 10, one of our heavy hitters. He warned that in a small society, a single faction could steamroll everyone else. Think of social media echo chambers. If you're stuck in a bubble where everyone agrees with you, things get extreme fast. But in a big republic like ours, there are so many voices, farmers, tech workers, teachers, you name it, that no single group can dominate. It's like a massive online platform with millions of users. The diversity keeps things balanced, protecting the little guy from the loudest bullies. Then there's the president. In Federalist number 70, I argued we needed a strong, single executive. Not a committee, not a council, just one person with the energy to lead. Some folks wanted a group running the show, but I said that's a recipe for gridlock. Imagine a company with 3 CEOs who can't agree. Nothing gets done, especially when the clock's ticking in a crisis. A strong president is like a CEO who can cut through the noise, make decisions, and steer us through storms, but don't freak out. They're not a dictator. Congress and the courts keep them in check, and if they mess up big time, impeachment's on the table. Speaking of courts, let's hit Federalist 78. I call the judiciary the least dangerous branch because it doesn't control the money or the military. No purse, no sword. But it's got a superpower: interpreting the Constitution and saying no to laws that violate it. Think of the courts as refs in a basketball game. They don't shoot the ball or set the plays, but they blow the whistle when someone steps out of bounds. That independence keeps the game fair, ensuring the government plays by the rules we set. Some people back then were freaking out. The anti-federalists, our friendly rivals, said, "Hamilton, this federal government sounds like a power grab. What about the states? What about our rights?" Fair point. They worried we'd create a beast that'd crush state governments and turn citizens into pawns. But the Constitution isn't a blank check for control freaks. It's a federal system, splitting power between the national level and the states. Picture a franchise like a coffee chain. Headquarters sets the menu and standards, but each shop tweaks things for local tastes. The federal government handles big stuff: defense, trade, while states tackle schools, roads, and local laws. It's flexibility with teamwork. And those anti-federalists, they didn't just complain, they pushed us to add the Bill of Rights, those first 10 amendments that lock in your freedoms. Freedom of speech, religion, the press, the right to bear arms, protection from unreasonable searches. These are your shield against overreach. Think of them as the guardrails on a highway, keeping the government from swerving into your life. The Constitution without the Bill of Rights would have been like a phone without a lock screen. Functional, but way too easy to hack. Now, why should you care about all this today? Because the Constitution isn't just some old parchment under glass. It's the operating system running our country. Every debate you see on TV or Twitter, healthcare, gun laws, free speech, taxes, it's all shaped by this document. Take federalism. We're still arguing about whether the feds or the states should call the shots on things like education or climate rules. The Constitution gives us the framework to wrestle with that, balancing power so no one side steamrolls the other. Or look at checks and balances. When the Supreme Court rules on a controversial law, or Congress grills a president's nominee, that's the system doing its job, keeping power from piling up in one place. And the Bill of Rights? It's why you can post your hot takes online, worship how you want, or protest without disappearing into a black van. These aren't just perks. They're the DNA of our democracy. The Federalist Papers show you the why behind it all. The intent, the logic, the passion. We weren't just scribbling for fun. We were fighting for a nation's soul. Back then, failure wasn't an option. Imagine a ship without a captain, drifting through storms. That's what we faced without a strong constitution. Today, the stakes are different, but just as real. Misinformation, polarization, global competition, these are our storms. Understanding the Constitution helps us navigate them, keeping us steady when the waves hit hard. Here's the thing. It's not perfect. We didn't agree on everything back then. Heck, the anti-federalists and us went at it like cats and dogs. That clash gave us the Bill of Rights, proving debate makes us stronger. Today, you'll hear people arguing over what the Constitution means or how it applies to drones, AI, or climate change. That's not a flaw. It's a feature. This system was built to evolve, to handle tough questions through discussion, not dictatorship. So here's my pitch. Go read the Federalist Papers. They're online, free, and honestly, pretty gripping for 18th century stuff. I promise you won't regret it. The Constitution isn't just my legacy. It's yours. It's a living, breathing guide that's kept us going for over 2 centuries. Let's keep it strong, keep it real, and keep this nation rolling forward.